Hello and welcome to another episode of Magic 101. Today, we're going to go over the elemental spear spells. We've already covered magic arrows, which is the most basic attack spell, as well as the ancient king spells, which are considered the most advanced. These spells are somewhere in between. The elemental spears are mid-level ranged spells that, surprise surprise, take the shape of giant spears. In a way, you could think of them like more powerful magic arrows. There are stone spears, lightning spears, fire spears, and possibly light spears, if that is what Sept is doing here. Stone spears are obviously made of stone, and ice spears are made of ice. But fire spears aren't actually made of fire. They're more like regular spears that are on fire. Thunder spears are the really interesting ones to me. They are made of electricity, but they seem to act almost like solid objects. Neji uses them to physically pin people to the ground, as if they'd actually been stabbed by a spear. But when Rakan actually gets run through with one, it electrocutes the heck out of him, but it doesn't actually pierce his skin or draw any blood. Yet he can still grab it with his bare hands and pull it out. It seems to act like a real spear, except for when it would actually cut you, in which case it electrocutes you instead. And while they are much stronger than magic arrows, because they take the form of spears, they're also a lot easier to dodge. And they don't seem to have any homing properties like the magic arrows do. The cool thing about the spears is that you can pretty clearly see the difference in power and skill between the different users. Or at least you can with the ice spears. Emily's spears are pretty sharp looking. I definitely wouldn't want to be hit by them. But Eva uses the spell on a completely different level. Not only are her spears much larger, they're also barbed, so a single spear can pierce you multiple times. She can also make a whole lot more of them. Unlike with magic arrows, which are usually fired off in sets of 17 or 29, spears are usually cast 3 or 4 at a time. Unless you're Eva, she can shoot dozens, if not hundreds of spears at once, without even breaking a sweat. And she can use it from a super long range too. Most people use it from more of a middle range, but in this panel, she's blasting them from like a mile away. So, yeah, Eva's kinda OP. But the point is that the power of the spell is proportional to the mage using it. There are a few other spear or land spells that can be considered variations of these basic ones. For example, Fates, Bansho, Sura, Nuku, Kokui, no Enkan. This is essentially just a more powerful stone spear. Much more powerful. Like, enough to pierce through Rakan. It also doesn't have the limitation of 3 to 4 shots, cause Fate can just shoot them rapid fire, dozens or hundreds at a time. Or it could be that Fate is just that powerful. Or both. Neji has combined the basic lightning spear with 1,000 thunderbolts to create the Rai Jinso Titanic Tonan, or the Lightning God Spear, Destroyer of Titans. This is easily one of the strongest spells in the series, because it focuses all the power of the 1,000 thunderbolts onto the tip of the spear. He has also done the same thing with the Jovis Tempistus Fulgaris to create the Titanic Tonan, Bufu no Rasensha. In both cases, he can extract the other spell from the spear after he's hit the target, essentially electrocuting them from the inside out. And he's apparently made 5 more spells like this, because 5 years later, at the Battle of Agartha, he pulls out Titanic Tonan 7, White Phoenix Advent. I don't know what spell he used to make this thing, but it makes this explosion. So if you want to call this the strongest spell in the series, I'm certainly not going to argue with you. Then there's the Halberd of Lightning, which is a little bit different. Not just because it's a halberd instead of a spear, but you can't just make it out of nothing. Neji and Nagi electrify their staff, and the lightning forms the halberd around it, turning it into an extremely effective close-range and projectile weapon. This is the spell that Nagi used to finish off the final boss, so to say that it's stronger than the regular Thundersphere is a massive understatement. And lastly, we have Gungnir, which was only used once by Quintum, who claims it has the most penetrating power of any lightning spell. I don't know if I really believe that, considering that the halberd put a hole through his master's chest, but hey, I'm not gonna argue with the guy holding the giant Thunderspear. Fun fact, Gungnir is actually the name of Odin's spear from Norse mythology, that would never miss and would instantly kill whatever it hit. And unless I'm wrong, I believe this marks the only time in the series where they ever reference Norse mythology. But those are all the elemental spirit spells. Well, except for Seiko's black thunder spears, but they seem identical to the regular ones, just black. So, but that's what I got for you today. If you want to see me talk about more of Neji's spells, then make sure you subscribe and turn those notifications on. But whatever you do, don't forget, the real magic is just a little bit of courage. Akari, signing out.